What would a movie that cost $200 million made solely for the purpose of pissing off the people that like the original movie in the first place look like? Turns out it's Joker Folie Deux. I might have said that incorrect. We can call it Joker 2. And to talk with me about the fallout, including our stupid Rachel Leishman take of the week and our stupid tweet of the week, is our good friend Aaron Spiro. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing all right. I think we just call it Joker Pretentious Crap.
Well, I thought that's what the first movie was.
Well, it was. So this is just more of the same.
But a lot of people like the first movie. I wasn't all that interested because it's not really the Joker. If you don't have Batman, why do you even have a Joker? But it wasn't something that terribly interested me. And then they announced they were making a sequel, that it was going to have some musical elements to it. I thought that's really strange because the first movie made $1 billion. But I didn't realize they were literally making a movie to let the people that liked the first movie know how much they hated them.
Yeah, it seems like a really good business strategy, right? First of all, did people really like the first one? I know that there was a certain vocal sect of people that really liked it, but I would say that judging by the, abysmal opening box office of this one, most people that went to see it probably didn't like it that much, at least not enough to go get a second dose.
The first one made $1 billion worldwide. I'd say they liked it. It grew over time.
No, I'd say there was a curiosity about it, and a lot of people went to see it. When they announced the second one, I was like, well, I was already out before I even knew any of the elements of it because I hated the first one. I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't pay to see it. Somebody gave me a copy of the Blu-ray, and I sat and I watched it. And then I gave the Blu-ray to a friend of mine because I was like, I never want to see this again. I don't need this in my collection. I am never going to put this in again. Hated it from start to finish.
Getting into these details, Todd Phillips' sequel, Joker Folie Deux, bombed at its box office debut with a domestic opening of $37.8 million, well behind expectations, after becoming the first Hollywood comic book movie in history to earn a D cinema score from audiences. Exit polls are equally grim as audiences express their unhappiness with the anti-hero musical mashup, which did less than half of the business of the first Joker in its launch, despite costing more than 3 times as much to make, or $190 million. The number of $200 million is also thrown out there. And it's very difficult to get a D cinema score. You can have a terrible movie and still kind of get like a B- or a B, because it's literally people walking out of the theater and their general impression. You'll see bad movies getting Bs. To actually get a D is a real achievement on the part of Todd Phillips that people hated it to that degree.
The Marvels didn't get a D. Morbius didn't get a D. And by the way, the opening weekend for this movie, the previous installment of which made $1 billion, it made less than Morbius's opening weekend. Just sit with that for a minute. Less than Morbius.
There's a decent chance that this movie, with the word of mouth that it has, which is very atrocious, could actually break the record from the Marvels on the biggest second week drop off in movie history.
Oh, this is definitely dropping off like 80%, right? Like there's no way that it's any less than 80%.
I think the Marvels was 78%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this will definitely be it, I think. The word of mouth is terrible. It looks awful. The attitude around it is turning people off. People are finding out that basically, like, they were like, if you like the first movie or you thought that, you identified with Arthur Fleck anyway, F you. That's a great way to run a business.
It does seem weird that you would invest $200 million to let the people know that made you so much money in the first place that you fucking hate them.
We don't want you. That's so what audience did you want? Like what was your goal here? Because this is a Warner Brothers movie under David Zaslav, and we know that they're hemorrhaging money. So what was why in the world would you let Todd Phillips do this? Why would you let him make this movie and put it out and cost you a ton of money? Because they probably spent $100 million on marketing. And let's say it is 200 million or maybe more, because, we generally tend to find out after the fact that they spent more on these movies than they claim. I mean, I guess when you wake up one morning and you find out your company is worth 9 billion less than you thought it was when you went to bed, I guess 150 million is just a drop in the bucket. But it seems to me that you would want to squeeze every dollar out of everything that you possibly can. Well,
they certainly weren't counting their pennies, but they are on the spin wagon right now. Warner Brothers is spinning through Deadline all of the blame toward director Todd Phillips by implying that the studio appeased his request by giving him final cut on the film and granting his request for the Venice world premiere. Phillips is also distancing himself from Folie Deux debacle by explicitly stating multiple times that he's done with the DCEU. Don't expect him to make more movies with Warner Brothers either, which is and has been a long-standing, lucrative deal for the two of them. He is the guy that did The Hangover with Warner Brothers and certainly got 2 sequels out of that one. He did $1 billion with the Joker, but this movie is bombed to such a degree and the feedback is so negative. Apparently it's destroying a business relationship.
I mean, he'll be okay because he has made some money in the past for different studios, so some studio will pick him up. I mean, he probably won't get a $200 million budget on anything anytime soon, but you know, he'll be okay. I mean, look, they even Paul Feig still gets to direct things after Ghostbusters 2016. So you know, it's Hollywood. You fail upward. You know, you spit in the face of the customers, you cost the studios money, and you get rewarded for it.
Well, and you kind of feel bad for James Gunn, who obviously is the president of DC Studios, but apparently had no say in this whatsoever. It's not a part of the DCU. But some could insinuate that maybe it is because it's coming out technically under his watch. Well,
I mean, James Gunn's got plenty of problems of his own. You know, like he told us that The Flash was a great movie. You know, he keeps running into problems and kind of putting his foot in his mouth here and there. It's not easy. It can't be easy handling all this PR, especially when there's so many terrible products coming out around you and so many previous bad decisions that, like, you know, it's like you got to go out there and you got to be the good corporate soldier and you got to fall on the sword and tell people, I really liked The Flash through gritted teeth. You know, that can't be fun for James Gunn. So yeah, I mean, does this kind of taint the upcoming Superman film? I think in the minds of the general public who don't really know the difference between these movies, I think it will. And I think the attitude towards the DCEU is already really low. So again, this just creates even more of an uphill battle for James Gunn. That Superman trailer better be incredible. It better blow everybody away because it's the only shot they got. And if they stumble out of the gate with this Superman movie, that's pretty much it, right? Like the DC.
That might be the end of the DCU. Yes, if it loses money.
And you know what? I will shed no tears. I will shed no tears. I'm past the point of wanting any of these things.
And it's also hard to believe that Todd Phillips, who obviously did make them a lot of money, you know, Joker did $1 billion, would have had like sole control of the narrative and everything in the movie itself. Like there was no oversight whatsoever from Warner Brothers. If that's the case, job not well done on your part. Like it is your company and these products are associated with you.
No, this is like hiring Mercedes Monet and giving her creative control. That's the level of mistake that this is. Like you're spending a lot of money and you're handing creative control to somebody who has no business having it. Look, I mean, the Hangovers are whatever. They're raunchy comedies. Those, you know, generally tend to do well. I didn't find anything particularly amazing or clever about those films. You know, certainly some laughs and you know, that's all that you really need sometimes. The Joker, I thought, was just pretentious crap. It was basically just, hey, I want to do King of Comedy and Taxi Driver and mash them together. And the only way that I can get that done is to stitch it in the, you know, the carcass of the Joker and kind of try to put it out like it's a DC film. And that, you know, generated enough interest that people went to see it in vast numbers and it made a bunch of money. But I don't think that Todd Phillips is by any means like an auteur filmmaker that deserves complete creative control over a project, even if the previous one did make $1 billion.
There is one person out there that knows what you need if you're not a fan of Joker 2, Joker for the Deux, and that is Rachel Leishman from the Mary Sue. And this is our Rachel Leishman stupid take of the week. Some people are feeling bad for director and co-writer Todd Phillips, but the reality is that his movie is just not good. Not like another DC movie. When Birds of Prey came out, it was fighting against a lot of things. A pandemic and toxic men being two big reasons why it wasn't the box office success it should have been. But now that everyone has hated on Phillips's version of Harley Quinn Joker story, it is important to talk about why Birds of Prey is just a better movie overall. In fact, it is the best DC movie outside the Batman. Birds of Prey inspired me. Everything about it brought me joy, and I found myself excited about the world of Gotham once more because of it. It is why things like the Batman had me so excited, and it's all thanks to Kathy Yan's take on the city. To get the Joker Folie Deux shit taste out of your mouth, you should go watch another bad movie, Harley Quinn and the Emancipation of whatever, Birds of Prey?
Birds of Emancipation Proclamation Fantabuloso.
I think it's Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. What a dumb title.
Yeah, you could have just called it Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Or Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn. You know, like just simplify it. But they had to like try to get fancy, just like that whole film tried to get fancy. You know, it's funny. Rachel Leishman's take at the beginning, I was like, am I about to agree with Rachel Leishman? Because, you know, the Joker part, I'm like, yes, you're right. That first, or, you know, the Todd Phillips should not be getting all of this sympathy. And I don't really think that he is. I think he's getting dragged over the coals, and deservedly so. But then to try to pivot and say that Birds of Prey is a good movie. I understand that you liked it, Rachel Leishman. I understand it had all the check boxes that you need for, to be excited about something. And none of them have to do with story or, coherent plot or well acted or well directed. I understand none of that matters as long as the agenda's in place, and that's what gets your rocks off for a film. And more power to you, man. Art is subjective, but to say that we need more of that. You know what? Yes, I'm going to agree with Rachel Leishman. We do need more of that, not for the reasons that she's saying, but just because I love it when these studios just burn money. I love that it's all burning to the ground. Maybe that makes me a birthday party clown. I don't know. I'm happy to see everything broken because I think everything needs to burn to the ground and become the fertilizer out of which something decent might actually grow. So right now, the studio system, Hollywood, the way that they're going about these writers and these directors and doing these projects is all ass backwards. It's all a bunch of terrible crap that we're getting. And they deserve to lose money until the point that they decide, I don't want to lose money anymore. Let's go back to telling good stories. Let's go back to making things that actually appeal to the broadest audience possible and not just dumb bitches at the Mary Sue.
I understand liking a bad movie. I like Ready to Rumble. If you like Birds of Prey, you like Birds of Prey, but you do have to understand that you like a bad movie. When Nacho Libre wasn't good, I was like, you know what'll wipe the Nacho Libre taste out of your mouth? Ready to Rumble. I love that movie. I realize it's a flawed film, and you probably shouldn't go watch that unless you want to watch something really stupid. But there you go. Go watch the Birds of Prey of Joker Folie Deux has got you down. We've also got our stupid tweet of the week. This is from Horror DNA. But y'all were cheering for the Marvel She-Hulk, the Acolyte, and anything female-centered to fail. Now y'all can't take your little Joker 2 failing and being trash. Sorry, men. Karma is a bitch.
Oh no! No, I think we're all saying, it's a terrible movie and it deserves to go down in flames, just like the Marvels, just like I don't know what some of the other ones she named, the Acolyte. All these things deserve to go. They're all bad, but the difference is, as men, we can say this female-led project is bad, and now this male-led project is bad. We can quantify both as bad. We don't have to approve one or the other because of the genders involved. We don't have to promote one or the other because of the genders involved. We can look at it objectively and say, ooh, this was objectively poorly done. And the Joker was poorly done. And I don't see anybody crying about it. I mean, I see some people that liked the first movie that are upset, saying like they ruined the franchise. But number one, I don't think it ever needed a second movie. I don't think it deserved a second movie. I mean, it made $1 billion, so it's going to get one. But story-wise, I don't think there was anything there. I don't think there was enough meat on that bone to build a franchise from. And clearly, I was right, because the second movie is not going to spawn a third.
There's been a lot of male-led projects that have been bad and crashed and burned. Was I crying when fucking The Mummy with Tom Cruise bombed? No, that movie sucked. No, it was awful. Very good. Were we upset when Thor: Love and Thunder bombed? I like Chris Hemsworth. That movie sucks balls. It's like men destroyed the Marvel She-Hulk and the Acolyte. If you go look at the numbers, Aaron, the largest portions of the audience for the Marvels and the fucking Acolyte and everything are men still. We're the only ones supporting this garbage.
We're the only ones that show up, but you've chased off a lot of us. So good job, I guess.
That's why it didn't make us much.
There's none. You don't have anybody coming in to replace us. So, I mean, karma is a bitch, is it? I mean, I don't feel any karma. I feel schadenfreude. I'm glad Joker is burning to the ground.
What? I want good DC movies, so if they can only handle so many failures in a row, so they need a Deadpool and Wolverine soon, Aaron. Otherwise, they might have to shut down the shop, and we'll never get that awesome, Firestorm movie that we need.
You know who also needs a Deadpool and Wolverine is Marvel. They need another Star Deadpool Wars? And Wolverine because and Star Wars needs a Deadpool and Wolverine. And I didn't even see Deadpool and Wolverine because it didn't interest me. I don't find the Deadpool movies that great. I don't find Deadpool that compelling as a lead character. Look, I mean, Rob Liefeld can go out there and tout how his characters have made $1 billion, and you can't take that away from him. But I don't care. And even Hugh Jackman as Wolverine wasn't enough to get me back. I'm just, I'm just burnt out. There's too many superhero movies. There's too many bad superhero movies. And I'm just kind of like, I'm just kind of out of the whole thing. It's the same with comics. It's like, there's too much stuff that's bad, and you guys have kind of like driven me out. And now I'm just very selective. So I'm very selective when I go to the movies, very selective when I go to the comic book store. And
when you talk about Joker, Folie, Deux, the Marvels, She-Hulk, and a lot of these other projects that have really crashed and burned as of late, one of the major issues there, not going with the source material. No, the comic books are too lowbrow for us. We're going to go create our original story and just wrap it around the empty carcass of the character and what they used to stand for and used to be. And people are rejecting it in mass.
Yeah, no, Todd's going to do his own thing, Todd Phillips, because he's an auteur. He's like Wish.com Scorsese. You know, it's like these guys come in with their vision. It's like what we always talk about. You get hired to do a Fantastic Four project. You should write stories that are about the Fantastic Four. You shouldn't say, how can I take these ideas for these other things that no one will greenlight and cram them into the Fantastic Four so that I'm interested in it? If you're not interested in doing a Fantastic Four story, don't take on the Fantastic Four. If you're not interested in doing a Guardians of the Galaxy story, don't take on the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, and unfortunately, you know, we also have some writers who maybe they're interested in telling those stories, but they just have no idea how. And they get hired again and again at Marvel and DC, and they get hired again and again in Hollywood. And, you know, it's like Leslie Headland completely failed at The Acolyte and was rewarded immediately with another show, apparently with a stellar cast. So, you know, it's just, it's unbelievable. I know that they're trying to push this thing right now that it's all, oh, it's the fault of the toxic fans. You know, Hollywood's at war with the toxic fans. No, Hollywood's at war with its customers, because no matter how many followers the Critical Drinker has, which I think is over 2 million now, and you know, God love him for that, man. Godspeed. 2 million fans is not going to, that's not enough of a reach to destroy an entire movie worldwide. So it doesn't matter what the critics say. And there have been critics, you know, throughout history. You know, I remember watching Siskel and Ebert on television and watching them tear movies apart. The difference is that now there's no barrier to entry. You don't have to go through all of the different, you know, the different studios, and you don't have to make all these alliances, and you don't have to sell all these little pieces of yourself to come on and talk about what you think about pop culture. And so the fact that the playing field is now level is the thing that they really hate. How dare you plebs not just eat the slop? How dare you have an opinion?
Joker 2 bombed because it was a bad movie. They should have known that when they looked at the script. They should have had some oversight on it, and they got what they deserved, a heaping pile of fucking comeuppance. You know, the original Joker movie had nothing to do with the real Joker anyway, and this is the way it deserved to die. You know, a fucking terrible death that will be talked about for decades to come as an enormous cautionary tale on what you should and shouldn't do with your movie franchises.
It's kind of funny. If you had wanted a successful Joker film, all you had to do was like lean into what I think people would have liked to have seen from a sequel to the Joker, especially if you're going to bring in Harley Quinn or a version of her with Lady Gaga. I mean, you could still do a musical, but I think that which I think is just a really weird decision, but you know, the guy's just trying to rip off Scorsese left and right, and I know that there's a Scorsese movie that he was kind of like basing this off of as well. But I think what people really wanted to see was maybe like a Natural Born Killers type of movie with Joker and Harley. You know, they wanted to maybe see a spree, and you still could have done musical numbers and you know, maybe had it work, but you would have given something that you've given the audience something that seemed more satisfying to them than a ridiculous courtroom drama where apparently the Joker can just get up and cross-examine people in full Joker regalia because who cares? Nothing matters. You know, that's certainly something the court would allow.
Well, it's sad.
I was like, well, there's no rule against it. Yeah, there is. It's called contempt of court.
Sparrow, can I let you know on something? This might make you ashamed of me, but I'm going to be honest about this. I think Natural Born Killers fucking sucks.
I agree. That doesn't bother me. I think it sucks too. But I think that's what people wanted. It's just something more along those lines.
I do want to say thank you very much to Aaron for joining me talking about Joker Folie Deux. This is only but a portion, a smidgen of the entire Geek Fix podcast, which is exclusive to Think Critical Patreon. If you're interested in that, you've got to find the Sparrow's never-ending Christmas tree tier on Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description, and you get another 2 hours of comic book and pop culture goodness from the two of us.